Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out called The Energy Medicine Solution: Mind-Blowing Results for Living an Extraordinary Life. I love that title, you guys. Before I introduce these amazing people to you, let me say a ginormous thank you to Jacqueline Kane, who is our lead author of this amazing book. Jacqueline, it is time, right? The world needs to understand about energy medicine, and I loved your mission for this book. Thank you so much for who you are and what you do in the world, and for gathering this amazing cast of expert authors for us. So thank you, Jacqueline. We would not be here without you. So who do I have in my Zoom with me today? Ed Cleveland is an expert in the field of sound therapy and sound healing and neuroacoustics teachings. He has a training center in Hartford, Connecticut. And Reverend Evangeline Hemrick is a shamanic practitioner, energy healing teacher, intuitive coach, death doula, podcaster, and online course creator. Welcome, Evangeline. Lori Piper is an author, master healer, and founder of Journey to Inner Joy. Through her coaching programs, Lori's clients find the clarity to know what their innermost desires are and to take action to feel fully alive and happy for no damn reason. Love that bio, Lori. Sandra Lee is with me, and she is a human design specialist and Biofield tuning practitioner, helping entrepreneurs have clarity about what's right for them so they can make life and business decisions with confidence. I hope you guys realize the power of the people I have in my interview today. I cannot wait to get into this conversation. Ed, you're going to start the party off. Tell us about the amazing chapter that you wrote.
Excellent. Okay. Yes, my name is Ed Cleveland. I'm chapter 10, Secrets Revealed. Your day is a daily meditation. The chapter starts off with my story, which is very interesting on how things got going, how life kind of falls into place, sometimes through accidents, but there are no accidents because they're guiding you to your path that you're truly supposed to be on, on finding that love and happiness and that joy that you like to do in a profession. So that's a very interesting kid story. It kind of goes through injury in martial arts and how it kind of guided me to a bookstore to ask the question to a bookshelf of, what do I need? And a certain book was glowing, and I picked it up. I held it. I asked it what it was supposed to show me, and it kind of started me off on my training with Reiki. It was actually Reiki for dummies. Go figure. So then that kind of led me into finding some things to work with my kids, because I got custody of my kids. So I started using some of those modalities not only to help me in the things that were going on, but how can I also do this now as a single father raising a 3 and 5 year old and get through life and help them and do all these things in a time where there's a little resistance on a man raising kids at that time. So that was one of my other challenges. So I basically had to prove my worthiness, to the system that I could raise my kids. Which now, of course, my son's an engineer. My daughter's got a master's degree in social working. So it all worked out. And then in the process, showed me some different ways that kind of led my evolution through working with sound as a modality. Sound is one of the most important things that we all experience. It's the first and last thing, actually. The 3 little bones in the ears are the first bones that are developed within the ear to help help us know that the first hearing is the heartbeat of our mother, so we know we're never alone. And at the end, it's the gasp. But everything in between, during the developmental stages, the sounds are also developing the human brain. through all the gases and all the things that you listen to with your mom, with the heartbeat, digesting food, having fluids move through the body, different things with the electromagnetic chemical responses that they're having, and of course through the outside sounds. So all those are developing brain activity. And my passion now is the gongs, amongst everything else. But it's also said that the gongs are one of the most complex instruments on this planet. So a good quality gong that it has a lot of microtonality and harmonics in it, using different mallets, you can actually somewhat duplicate the sound of rebirthing, of making different sounds that you wouldn't be able to with conventional instruments, to go into those areas to make sounds that people can't put a name to, which is the gift. And if you could imagine, what would it sound like to hear what was going on in the womb, or what would it sound like in deep space or in deep ocean? So that just feeds my soul, and brings on things on helping other people, and it led me to even more teachers. One of my teachers is um, one of the most sought out people on teaching, and he works with llamas, so we get to work with different llamas. One of them is a Bonpo llama, and they were mentioning in the classes that the sound, a good quality gong, could also duplicate the sound of the tunnel. So everyone knows, go to the lake, go to the tunnel, but the tunnel has a sound. So in getting people used to hearing nice, gentle, soft, subtle sounds of this microtonality, which is a high form of math, it's also preparing people to have a nice transition to go to light. Oh, I love that sound. It's the sound of a gong. So that's
Awesome, Ed.
a little taste of what I do.
Thank you. I love it. All right, you guys, stay tuned, because we're going to hear more from Ed here in a couple of minutes. The tunnel has a sound. All right. I already learned something today. Evangeline, you're up next. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm so happy to be here. And Ed, what a segue into my chapter, chapter 6, Your Inner Shaman, Trusting and Activating the Healer Within. It's my near-death experience story. So how perfect is that? Thank you. You just led right into me being very vulnerable. This was such a wonderful creative collab where I got to be a little bit more vulnerable with my writing and go into my story that happened back to me in 2001, when my healing abilities really came full force when I saw the other side. So it's a very intimate, raw account of what happened when I saw, oh, it is not my time to leave. I've got work here to do. And I was already a massage therapist at that time. I had a lot of intuitive abilities, wasn't quite sure what to do with them. And 21 years ago, when this happened to me, it really unlocked my trust of my own intuition and gave me a lot of passion to help other people trust the healing abilities that they have that are really unique. So chapter 6 is my story of how I kind of just got blown wide open of like, wow, no more fear, no more conditioning, no more holding back from stepping into my power. And from that point on, I was insatiable to learn everything I could learn about energy healing, shamanism, and that's the tool that I share, is an empowerment tool where you actually have an action step to harness your intention.
I think it's so cool that you had an experience that you basically just like, you couldn't come back from, and that was it. Like this is it, man. I'm going to do everything I can. There's no reason for me not to shine in the world at this point. And I love that place that you got to, and I don't know that everybody gets to experience something like that. Well, what else do you want to say about that?
I feel very grateful for how it did take away all those layers of not me, the conditioning, the not self program, so that I could help other people shine. That's what I love to do, because a lot of people have that fear of stepping out and trusting the very, very unique abilities that they have. And that's what I love, is showing people every one of us is medicine. We all have a unique gift that we're here, our purpose work. And that's what really lights me up, to help people discover what theirs is.
Yeah. All right. So we're not going to give away everything in that chapter, you guys. You're going to have to get this beautiful book to learn more about Evangeline's story, which is so powerful. Thank you for being here, Evangeline. All right, Lori, you're up next. Tell us about your chapter.
So I spent 30 plus years in the computer industry and as a computer engineer, and it was very much a man's world, as you can imagine. And so I was always feeling like I had to prove myself. And the interesting thing, oh, by the way, my chapter is chapter 11, Reiki meditation to ignite your inner healer, 2 minutes to peace and healing. And the reason that I remembered to say that is because I'm like, wow, it was very stressful having to always feel like you're having to prove yourself. And as it turned out in my chapter, I talk about when I had the amazing opportunity to go to Australia for a couple of years to work for our Australian affiliate. And so within 3 months, I had packed up my stuff, moved to Australia. And within a month of being there, which, by the way, those are all switch jobs. And so those are all like the high stress life changes, right? And within a month of being there, I was asked to do a demo for a potential client with new product that I hadn't used yet. And my heart and soul were saying, Lori, don't do this. It's too much. But my ego brain said, go for it. Go for it. You got to prove yourself. So I went for it, and it was a horrible disaster, just a horrible disaster. I had never completely frozen when talking to a client before, and it was devastating. And that's when I found Reiki, and it really helped me to find the peace and the calm that I needed after that to continue in Australia, even though I was very embarrassed that my first project went so horribly wrong. So, and I'm also passionate about learning the underlying science behind, modern quantum physics is also teaching us why this energy healing works, no matter what the modality is. So,
yeah, that part of things is so incredibly exciting. I have to say, I cringed for you during that part of your story in your chapter. I was like, oh gosh. I mean, I so felt that. And I felt it also from a standpoint of having been in places working for big companies and the pressure of that. And I wonder, in terms of the Reiki, you made a big switch to something very alternative and holistic. Were you telling people about that right away, or was it kind of like your own little secret at first?
At the time, because I was very new in Australia still when I found this amazing healer. And so I did tell a few people there, but it was really kind of, yeah, I didn't go out and, preach to the world. It really wasn't until probably 10, 15 years ago, with other work stress, that I just started preaching to the world that this stuff is real. It works, whether it's Reiki, acupuncture, meditation. It just really changes the world and introduces you to many miracles. Because we don't see them, we don't spot the miracles, we don't spot the synchronicities because we're so in our heads.
Well, yes, to that. Miracles are going to be what you all start to read about and experience in our book. I can't wait to share all of these different stories. Lori, thank you so much for being here. Sandra, tell us about your chapter.
I want to have conversations that mean something. That was a head conversation I had when I was in high school. That was when I really became aware of how important to me it is connecting with people and having this experience of being seen. So my chapter 7, being seen, light up the heart of who you are, is all about my journey from being someone who hated herself, who felt completely disconnected, to, growing through the different stages, and then being a person now who really specializes in helping people create an experience that I call shine. And this concept was one I created while I was writing my chapter for Energy Medicine Solution, realizing that when I really see somebody, it's like we are so real and connected and alive. And, in the pictures of saints, they have that halo around their head. I think that's what this shine experience is. When I see you, you come alive, and I come alive, and that interaction, that connection, I just love it. I live for it. And the tool in my chapter helps you to be able to create more of these shine experiences, these connected, seen experiences in your own life.
How do you connect that with the term aura?
We all have an aura all the time. So the energy fields, when I'm doing biofield tuning, using a tuning fork, I'm working with that aura structure. So this shine, I think, is part of it. It's like, imagine when I feel like I'm really connecting with who I am, and I'm feeling who I am. It's like I'm waking up parts of my energy field, and they shine a little bit more. To me, that's what shine is.
I love that. I'm having the visual. I was always a person where I would be in my rooms with my healer friends, and we would be learning different things. And I never felt like I could see what they saw. And of course, and I know that there's lots of ways to experience it. It's not always a visual, right? How else do you experience it? Or maybe for the listeners, like how else can they experience something like that?
I have always wanted to see the colors of the aura, and I never have. So, like you're saying, there's a lot of different ways that people perceive things. For me, I call it seeing, quote unquote seeing, but it's not visual eye seeing. It's a combination of, like, I'm sitting here and I can picture in my mind what my living room looks like at home. And I can imagine something, and I create a picture in my mind of it. So that's the way I visually see. But to me, there's also like emotion and knowing and physical sensations that are all part of that experience for me of how I perceive and how I see.
Yeah, I love that. I love understanding all of the ways. And I'll say thank you to you for being such a great explainer of it. Thanks to all of you authors for stepping up, for this project and for sharing real stories, real, authentic, vulnerable stories about where you've been on this journey. But then, you guys, this book is full of practical tools, strategies, practices that these authors have practiced themselves, refined, and teach. So you are receiving master teachings, multiple master teachings in this topic of energy medicine. And I want to start to talk about this now a little bit more with all of you. Evangeline, I'm going to start with you on this next question. And so you all know everything is energy. It's about time for this book, right? Everything is energies. And I'm so excited to talk about the topic. So for you, what's one important thing you want our listeners to understand about energy and what it can do for their life?
Ooh, I love that question. And you're right. Now is the time. Now is the time. Many of us got into energy work and energy healing when the earth was very different. Like for me in massage school in 1995, and I find Barbara Brennan's book, Hands of Light. I find that book in the library at massage school, and I'm just crying and crying. And I found Randolph Stone. He wrote the polarity therapy manuals, and I'm just bawling my eyes out because there's these images for what I could see that I didn't know what to do with, and I was in massage school and it was like, whoa, I see all these shapes and patterns and colors and all these differences and beautiful, beautiful energetic patterns, vibrations around people, in people. What do I do with all that? All of a sudden, it was like the whole world was open to me that I can help people with this. And that has been my life's work, my passion since 1995. So now energy healing is just so much more available, accessible, and empowered to each one of us than it used to be. It used to be like a few people knew about it and a lot of people thought it was weird. No, now it's like being our own healer is the gift I feel like every author in this book presents in a different, unique way of you are the healer. You are the medicine of your own life. And that's just so exciting to me.
Yes, I know. I want to cheer for that one too. Thank you for kicking that question off so brilliantly. Okay, so Lori, you're going to add to this now. What's the one thing you want people to understand about energy and what it can do for their lives?
We say in general it can heal, but it does more than that. I had some computer issues this morning and I was in a panic. And so I used my 2-minute meditation to, calm myself. And I Reiki'd my computer. Now people think that is weird, but everything is energy. And I'm telling you, I rebooted it. It came back up and everything is beautiful. So, I mean, that's the power of it. I healed my allergies, seasonal allergies. I used to be on all kinds of meds and taking allergy shots. And it actually put me in the emergency room once on my way to a client site. And I decided I'm done. And I found acupuncture. And so, and within a few months, I was pharmaceutical free and I managed my allergy. I even had an inhaler. That's how bad my allergies were in the spring and the fall. And I just use herbals for it and visualization. So using the light to expand my lungs so I can breathe easily and clear my, there's also acupuncture points and all that fun stuff, for clearing your sinuses. So it's beautiful. I don't know if I completely answered that the way you wanted me to.
That was perfect. And I love your personal examples because people are going to listen and go, oh my gosh, I've been suffering with allergies forever. And I haven't tried these different kinds of ways. We've been just barraged with a lot of Western medicine, literal, a lot of drugs. And sometimes invasive kinds of procedures and all of these things. And the reason holistic alternatives turn me on is they're more natural, less invasive, most often all painless and completely effective and long lasting. So when I talk about waking the world up to what's possible, it does have to do with, even with allergies, you guys. I'm definitely a fan of energy and acupuncture too. Sandra, how about you? What's one thing you want people to understand about what energy medicine can do for them?
I look at it that everything that has ever happened to me is stored in my body, in my energy field, in my mental and emotional being. Everything that has ever happened. So if I, with energy, can help to move that from my energy field, from my body, from my emotional being, all of the authors in this book are working with the energy so that I can unload some of that garbage that I'm carrying around me. If I have all of this garbage in my energy field between me and other people, they can't see me. I can't see them. They can't hear me. I can't feel the love that they send me when all this garbage from the past is in my way. So all of these fabulous healers help you to take these balls of energy and collapse them so they're not in your way anymore. Totally changes your life. Totally.
I love when y'all play show and tell with your instruments. Will you hit that one more time for us?
Sure.
Okay. Can you hear that, you guys? Can you let it in to wash you out? That's how I feel with Sandra's tuning forks. We've had the Tibetan singing bowls. Oh my goodness, I'm sure Ed has a thing or two to say about the, the sound in a minute as well. Thank you, Sandra. All right, Ed, what do you want people to know?
All right. So in our teachings, one of the people that we were suggested to read and study is Dr. Valerie Hunt, and she taught Barbara Brennan. So finding out who taught who is an amazing thing. But all these modalities actually exist because of Dr. Valerie Hunt's research. She was the pioneer. She created the instruments to prove the human energy field. She worked with NASA. So she has all this, the book, Infinite Minds, incredible book. But what that all goes into is working again with the mind field. And the mere fact, the neuroscience part, that 75% of ailments are created in the human brain, and light comes from sound, and you always have your voice with you, which is the coded dhamma of like Reiki. The sound or chanting the symbols brings out light just like the symbols would. So it's amazing. And of course, you know, any kind of sound. So everyone in this group here has something to do with what I was just mentioning, which is that fascinating thing. So when you have that instrument that you love to play, you're bringing a white silk cord from your heart to that instrument. When you're playing the bowl or the gong or anything that you're doing, or even talking, because Reiki also comes out your 5 senses. So you can listen to Reiki, you're speaking with a Reiki tongue. This information is coming from this place to your internal, and you're exhaling your experience from your 5 senses, which is connecting the energy medicine with all of these things. So when you have that going on and you allow your breath, because we have to breathe, which is also why the who, is one of the most sacred sounds. It's similar to duplicating the breath of God in a sound. That you're connecting a white silk cord from your throat to the instrument. And then as you're playing in a meditative way, getting out of your left brain where all your problems are into the right brain of the feelings and the emotions, you then get another white silk cord that merges. And now you have 3 white silk cords, which is going into something that you love to do. And then you have this. This is what you're sharing with people. This is your love. This is your passion. And the only way you're really going to find happiness in life is doing something you truly love to do. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me too. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. So y'all can tell the level of masters we have here today. It makes me so grateful and honored to be able to play in the sandbox with you all every day, and just understand really, again, what's possible. So, you know, okay, to take full advantage of understanding and mastering energy, you must practice awareness. Being able to feel is how you get to the healing. So helping people to feel and heal is part of this for me. Lori, what's your practice of awareness look like in your day-to-day?
Well, I'm going to go back to what Ed was saying. I love to chant before I do my meditation in the morning. So I will do 5 to 10 minutes of chanting, and then 20 to 25 minutes of meditation, depending on how long I chant. But I used to think chanting was weird until I had to do it in my Reiki training, and then I was hooked. But it just really shifts your whole energy. So I'm sorry, what was the question? I got off on
your
that.
chanting is part of your practice. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Right. And then in the evening before I go to bed, it helps me go to sleep. I do a little watch the light and the energy flow through my body, kind of like yoga nidra. So where I'm just like relaxing my body, but also inviting healing energy and healing light, and I'll fall to sleep to that. So it's a beautiful way to sleep. Yeah.
And y'all, you know, there's a 1,000 different kinds of awareness tools and practices, right? So each of our authors probably has 100 of their own that they that they do. So this is so great because we get a taste of what that looks like in your day. I believe that when we create these powerful practices and actually create a discipline of them, that's a life-changing thing that we're doing for ourselves, right? And for whatever we want. Sandra, how about you? How does this look like in your day-to-day?
For me, I just make like minute to minute decisions about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to think based on how it feels. So just having an internal sense of when something is right and when something is not. And another thing is that I allow myself to complete things. I don't want to stay upset or have something incomplete in a relationship or a situation because that just drains my energy. And so just having a practice of anytime something's not quite right, to clear it up so that I'm not losing my life force, my attention, my energy, my ability to focus by being stuck in something that's not really serving me.
Can I ask you a harder question to follow up on that?
Sure.
So if you're in a situation and you are not controlling the closure of it, if somebody else is in charge of you getting closure or completeness, then what do you do? What's your practice there?
A big way that this is happening right now is there are a lot of things going on in the world that I don't have control over. That if I allow myself to get pulled into them, I feel stressed out. And it's definitely not like completely controllable by me. Sometimes what I have to do is I have to just let it go. Choose to trust and have faith that ultimately everything is going to be okay, even though I don't know how. And that also applies when it's like even in a individual relationship. You know, it's like all these things I just don't have, like you said, control over. And so choosing to just come from a place of love for myself, for the other person, and trusting that ultimately things need to be okay.
Yeah, it's a powerful
That,
nugget, Sandra. Thank you.
that's what enables me to survive.
Yes, it is that big of a deal, you guys, I think in some situations. Okay, so Ed, how about you in terms of your awareness practice? What's it look like on your day-to-day?
So one of the things through all the different teachings is that we seem to judge things right or wrong, good or bad, all these things, and we're allowing outside influences to change the way we think or feel, which is poisoning our energy field. So just like Reiki, having the universal life force energy coming in through the top of the head, coming down and circling out the hands, they are attached to the nostrils and we have to breathe all the time. So in the form of going through and understanding, your brain is only really meant to receive and perceive the information, strategize how to get through your day. But the happiness and the place of non-judgmental and wisdom comes in from that source. So allowing your mind to quiet, to focus on the breath, even they call it the so hum of the breath. So is actually the sound of inhale. You're actually doing a slight hum on the exhale, which vibrates your thymus gland, which boosts your immune system, which allows you to understand that you're emitting your experience through the 5 senses. And when you're doing that, you're allowing those 5 senses to work with your 5 major organs, the 5 elements, space, wind, fire, water, earth. Those are compounded on top of each other to the 5 major limbs, your 5 major exterior limbs. And those 5s go on and on to 84,000 parts of the human body, which is the basis of Ayurvedic medicine itself. So I take my walks in the park and I purposely look and say, I'm emitting my experience in watching those kids play. I'm emitting my experience watching that squirrel chirp. And I usually have to have a squirrel call or a bird call, and I talk back to it because I'm a sound person, or I use my voice. So that's where you're not going to have any pain and suffering. We inhale to exhale the toxins. We eat good food, and our body has an elimination process. This is the direction that it's supposed to flow. But if you imagine there's a problem in your bathroom and it comes up the opposite way and makes a mess, that's actually what's happening in our daily life. We're getting poisoned from the outside influences because we're allowing them to come in and make a difference on how we feel. That's giving all these other things control over you. Where if you just come this way and you're emitting your experience and accepting things the way they are, that's the best, one of the ways they say to find happiness and joy and help. It's a whole life practice.
I feel like we just got a university course in those 2 minutes of Ed's answer there. My goodness.
I have that effect. I have that effect.
That's foundational, you guys. And what Sandra was talking about was also actually all of you, because you're talking about awareness. This is foundational information to your life being different, if that's what you're hoping for, right? Wow, you guys, awesome. So Evangeline, it's hard to go last on this question, I realize, but you're going to have this beautiful, unique answer that somebody needs to hear your version of. What's your awareness practice look like?
Yes, to everything everyone has said. And I love how multidimensional every author in this book is. We are not just one thing. We are not just Reiki practitioners or breathwork facilitators or sound healers. It's a lifestyle, just like Ed just said, it's your life. So breathwork for me, it's absolutely necessary. It's everything when it comes to presence, awareness, intention, the breath, sound. It's my shower. It's my daily internal shower for me to do vocal toning and make a noise. Everyone can do that. And that's what's so accessible about all of these techniques and practices is everyone can make sound. Most every human being has the ability to do that. Most every human being has the ability to move. And the breath being that middle ground, that bridge between the spirit and the physical. When I teach energy healing, I teach you have to access the breath. That's how you do this, and you do this well. It's through your breath and through your sound. So all of those things, that's what I love about everyone in this book is we are all of that as we invite other people into their awareness, into their senses, to truly come to their senses. It's so beautiful. So yes, sound, breath work, movement, all of that is just my life at this point. And what I wanted to touch on too is Sandra talking about how she was before, and Ed talking about what he had to go through, and Lori explaining like the day-to-day things that everyone goes through with allergies and computer problems. It's so good to hear those things about all of us. Like I don't go deeply into my reproductive pathologies that I healed, like PCOS, endometriosis, all that, but to hear where we used to be for someone who's like, wow, I could do that. I could transform my life. So yeah, I just love hearing about everyone's daily practices of living energy work, not just doing it occasionally.
Yes, exactly. I know. It's exciting, isn't it? We're helping our listeners, and we will help our readers understand those possibilities, and they'll have hope that they didn't have just by listening to you all, today. I feel honored to be able to, give your gifts like that and let people understand. Okay, this last question that I have for all of you, I think is an interesting one. I don't think we can talk about energy without talking about it. If you're highly empathic or a highly sensitive person, you're sensitive to energy, you may have an issue of feeling literally everything and not being able to discern what's yours and what's someone else's. And that can be totally overwhelming. So I want to know, Sandra, you're nodding your head. You know what I'm talking about. Have you experienced it? And if so, what do you want to share with our listeners about that?
I'm a human design specialist. And in human design, it helps you understand how you process and experience energy. There are some people who are just always going to take in energy from other people and helping them understand, oh, you know what, this is normal for you and here's how you manage it. Because everybody's experience with this is different. And that each person has their own way, and it's part of the contribution you make. If you're one of those people who's always taking energy in from other people, as this is mine, is this mine, is it not? Understand that just by being that you're providing a service. It's a totally different way of looking at that experience, but it does actually make sense.
I love that explanation. Really, really cool perspective to think about it that way. Thank you. So Ed, you're next up on this one. So have you experienced, are you one of those highly sensitive people? And what do you want people to know about this?
Yes, I am. Again, working with the sound, which is the subtle sounds and sound sensitivity. So again, going back to those outside influences, working on your energy field, your auric field. One of my shamanic teachers had us put our hands around us, that this was our energy field, and everything inside our field had everything to do with us, and everything outside of our field was none of our business. That we're supposed to be certain what you're doing and who you're working with. So in polishing your own mirror and strengthening your mirror itself, and again, spending more time on getting the receiving of the wisdom, you can shut down some of the outside influences of different things. But if you're working with a person, of actually engaging with them and being certain by watching their breath and the different ways that we all have our intuitive abilities, to listen to those, but also keep that connection of certainty of what's going on, and is this in the best interest of the person and yourself, and how can you utilize that information and keep it in that flow of being high vibrational and positive, and working through a person's feelings or emotions, or simply holding space with that without judging, and finding it within you what's there, and then making those adjustments within you, which could automatically transfer into those other given subjects. So the answer is kind of vague because it does go into so many different categories with all the different ways we all have different intuitive abilities.
I love it. Skilled practitioners practice what Ed's talking about. They take responsibility for their energy. You all do. That's why it's so amazing to work with you all and listen to you all talk about this. And it's really important to understand it. Evangeline, what do you want to add to this in terms of like, what do you want people to understand about if they're feeling all of that and it's feeling overwhelming?
Oh, I can so relate to that. And I agree with you 100%. It's responsibility, self-awareness, and empowerment. That's why over the years and all the techniques and all the modalities that I was just so insatiable to learn, I use the term shamanism because it's so all-encompassing. Of if you go back in the etymology of that word, the farthest back Siberian word is the one who knows. And what we need to know is ourselves. We're not in the tribal structure anymore. So it's not about, when I'm speaking of being a shamanic practitioner, every single healer in this book is a shaman, in my opinion, because they are the one who knows. If they know themselves, and if they take responsibility for their own relationships, right? Relationship with themselves, with their creator, with each other, from that place of ultimate responsibility, you're able to clean out and weed the garden. And I always tell people energy work is like flossing. It's like dental hygiene. You don't clean your teeth one time and be like, okay, I'm done, no more. So I did that. It's not like that. We are an ecosystem. So with that level of responsibility and empowerment, we know it's a continual weeding. It's a continual flossing to be clear on what's ours and what is the world. And by doing that, we shine, like Sandra talks about. We become more and more radiant the better we feel. And that in turn helps the world.
I love that. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, y'all, all of you are giving me such shiny visuals today. Lori, you're going to close us out today on this last question. So what about that highly sensitive person, and what do you want them to know about all this?
Yeah, again, you know, it's been said, do the work. It can be challenging coming from corporate America because I had to shut down my emotions. God forbid that a woman would cry in a meeting or in the office or something. So I had trained myself to shut it all down. And then once I started my regular meditation practice, I'm feeling like, wow, I'm feeling this stuff, and is it me? And so it is, be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. Just ask curious questions. Is this mine? Is this somebody else's? And again, love yourself. Breathe, breathe. Yeah.
I think that is a perfect piece of advice. Yes, breathe. Perfect piece of advice. I like be gentle with yourselves. And to all of our listeners, you know, if something that one of our experts said today is just giving you the goosebumps, and or you're resonating, you want to know more, or you need some support for next steps, please scroll on down to the show notes, because I've hooked them all up with their websites, and they are very generously there for you for those next steps. That is part of what we're doing with our books, is we're creating a community of people who really care. They've devoted their lives to helping you feel great and live an amazing life, right? So the Energy Medicine Solution is that community. So go explore what they're up to. They are all up to some awesomeness in the world. Authors, thank you so much for what you do and for being here to share it with everyone today. Thanks, guys. So last
My
note.
pleasure.
Oh, yes. I know. I need to give you guys a chance to unmute for that last one, right? Thank you all for being here. Listeners, invitation to you to join us for our live stream book launch party for the Energy Medicine Solution, November 18, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page for that party, and I'll have all of our authors with us for that celebration. You won't want to miss that. And if you're listening to this anytime around that date, just that means you can hop over to Amazon and purchase your beautiful copy of this amazing book. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.